nation in hibernation, some light still on. Engaging in creation, all mediums on a Zoom call. Stress reduction, move your body out it. Tap your novel fractal forms, Fibonacci. We wear the mask cause the strange wind spreading, compelling me steadily to consume lies readily. So what's the culmination? Ain't no telling. Hold tight through the spike, not buying all of what they selling.
Only 8 bars, but I spit 9 flavors. Thanks to our creator, hip-hop saves us. Through pandemic phases, give high praises. Shift tide, feel the drift, life changes. Press shuffle, put on hip-hop's playlist. Next level, village kids sign majors. Arrest rebels, yeah, shit rock raised them. Death records, local disc jocks favorite.
Make this opportunity to state the mission I'm on to educate and elevate.
The next level, the perseverance of a rebel. I drop heavier levels, is unseen or heard. A king with words.
From the Pacific to the Atlantic, we overcome pandemics. Next level, unified, Pangea said it. Strategize and mobilize for the sake of the planet. And realize the damage if we don't adjust and manage. All around the continents, the consonants, monstrous imposters infiltrate with nonsense and postulate. And spirit is propagate a lot of hate. It's time to liberate and fight for some brighter days.
Like the sage, bundle of brush cleansing the space. 6 spirits smudging like the ink on the page. 50 states still suffer two particular plagues. One phase when we distance away, skipping the grave. The other feeds on division. The Jim Crow fever, the tempo keeper. When the war drum beats, the swords unsheathed. The short thumb tweets, but we implore some peace. To forge medicine for everything Pfizer couldn't cure.
The mind must be nourished so the truth can flourish to the next level. My skills I move a level higher. If you live, you learn. Constant elevation.
There I was looking down on Metropolis. Just keeps getting worse. Wonder how we got this situation so unprecedented. An effective way to deal with it hadn't even been invented. Real heroes are here, not in the back cave. Healthcare workers on the front lines, that's brave. I'm just a voice in the wilderness. Say my part. Every role is critical to the whole. Play my part.
I shook hands with dignitaries and governors. Travel to distant lands. I'm Lemuel Gulliver for Marco Polo of sorts. Model my silken shorts in Afro sheen, pristine, graffiti the Queen's Courts. Rhyme code is Matthew A. Henson's Arctic Expeditions. Aren't you gonna listen to something that's really dope? If that's your intentions, let's have the attention. Focus and acquisitions that symbolize a new hope.
Next level.
We will survive necessarily by any means. No man ever hold you down.
Yes, y'all. It don't stop.
Hiburkanlah hati.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the release party and artist discussion for the Pangea Hip Hop Heals compilation. We'll be getting an in-depth look behind the scenes on how the project came together, as well as discuss further with some of the artists involved in the project. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is King Khazm. I'm very excited to share with you what we have in store tonight here. Pangea Hip Hop Heals is a compilation that I had the great pleasure of producing over the last 8 months. The album spotlights many diverse perspectives surrounding the current COVID-19 pandemic and its related aspects. The album features 50 MCs, producers, DJs, and artists representing 17 countries. Last year, only a couple of months of living in isolation, I began to realize that this way of life will become a new normal for the unforeseeable future, much longer than any of us could imagine. The spreading of the virus would evolve to become a full-on global pandemic, and everyone would become affected in one way or another. Lives are being lost at an alarming rate. Business operations would halt, and unemployment rates would increase exponentially. Medical supplies were hoarded like treasure, and hospitals flooded to capacity in many cities. In some ways, it's flattened the playing field and exposed us to the reality of, what things are most important and what things are most essential. At the same time, social justice issues addressing police brutality and systemic racism became prominent in society. And simultaneously, the polarization in politics and the emboldenment of domestic terrorist groups would rise to unparalleled heights. With all this playing out, it can be hard to navigate in a world enveloped by chaos and remain centered in a healthy and productive manner. As I begin to make my rounds, checking in with my hip hop family, in different parts of the world, I saw that so many of my people are also struggling in their own ways, you know, unimaginable deaths, performances and tours being canceled, health issues, financial struggles. It seemed like we were all going through similar things in our own ways. And, you know, this was a time that we needed for healing. So around that time, I received a Citizen Diplomacy Action Grant that was awarded by the U.S. Department of State and the Partners of the Americas. Funding was in place and, you know, ideas began to shift. I wanted to put together a project, you know, that would allow a platform for us as a global hip hop community to unite and share our stories and perspectives. I wanted to provide a platform that was unrestricted and enabled us all to speak our own truths. The vision began to materialize, and it was incredibly inspiring to see dozens upon dozens of MCs, producers, and artists step up to the plate and offer their voices, creativity, and passion to make this happen. 8 months later, I'm incredibly pleased to present to you this finished piece that I feel accurately depicts a wide array of perspectives and talent. Today, we will hear from a handful of artists involved and learn about their own experiences and journeys in the last year, as well as share some of their art. Before we begin, I'd like to give a special thanks to our community partners who are instrumental in helping making this project happen. Thanks to 206 Zulu, Fresh Shop Beats, MADK Productions, Heal the Hood, Hip Hop Consciente, Mighty 4, Next Level USA, and Zulu Union. And of course, I'd like to give much thanks to the Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund for U.S. alumni who made this project possible. Tonight, we will be joined with a handful of artists and contributors of the Pangea project, including Emile YX of Heal the Hood, representing South Africa, Dumi Right, telecommuting all the way from Washington, D.C., Tati and DJ Gafeto of Hip Hop Consciente, Eli Almic joining us from Uruguay, Maze 22 hailing from India, and ZDC transmitting all the way live from Corinda, Australia. So we got an amazing program in store. Everyone in the digital land, please give your guests a virtual round of applause. All right. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Our first guest is a true living legend, originally hailing from Cape Town, South Africa. This MC, b-boy, and community organizer is a pioneering hip-hopper who helped spread the elements of hip-hop culture all around the continent of Africa. He was one of the b-boys who brought South Africa to the world stage with his b-boy crew, Black Noise. He is the founder and creative director of Heal the Hood, an incredible organization that uses hip-hop as platforms for education, self and community empowerment, and social change. He brings knowledge and wisdom. He brings love. He brings humanity. His name is Emile Jensen, also better known as Emile YX. Up next, we're going to play a short video spotlighting Emile, and we'll be right back with him to talk further.
The Cape Flats, unfortunately, has a very negative stereotype thanks to the previous regime during apartheid telling people this is the image that they portrayed. And unfortunately, it's still like that. But throughout the Cape Flats, wherever you go, you'll find that the majority of people are actually good folk. You know, good people are the majority. There's a created perception that hip-hop is only one thing, that hip-hop is negative. When in truth, hip-hop is all emotions and all feelings. My name is Emile Jensen, and I'm part of the organization called Heal the Hood Project. Heal the Hood's intention is to redress the balance. Because at the moment, it's laying in the negative stories being told about the Cape Flats and about hip-hop. The classes we give is divided into dance, writing, and then there's also art. And so we try and supply voices for young people from the Cape Flats.
I think first and foremost is the teacher. So even though Emile's not teaching in the classroom, he teaches via his music.
You know, so even if you just write it at first, we'll type it out, and then we'll put it in this book form over here. When they see the articles in the book, it's no more, this was impossible, it's now possible. Change begins within yourself, like, you know, the whole idea of be the change that you want to see in the world. And once we're able to heal ourselves, it's easier for that to then trickle outwards.
These are South African heroes.
Welcome back. Emile, brother, thank you so much for being here, man. You're just so amazing and dope. Thank you for sharing your time and joining us today. It's good to see you, brother.
Yeah, you too, man, and everyone else as well. Cheers. Good to see everyone.
Look at all these faces. This is probably the most people I've seen all year. As a practitioner of hip hop, you know, you've really, I mean, you've seen the evolution. You've been around for over 3 decades, and you've seen kind of the evolution. What can you say about hip hop in Africa and where it is today? I know I've known about you, you know, pre-internet, and you know, like we talked about kind of like social media and stuff before. Really, there was like that instantaneous access. You know, with international competitions like Battle of the Year and graffiti magazines. I would just kind of see you in kind of this underground hip hop cult kind of thing. An early website. I mean, the very earliest websites of I don't know if you remember Africa's Gateway. Then, you know, at the time, I got to know you more personally, and you know, in more recent years in association with Zulu Nation, and then, you know, some of the media efforts like Fifth Element magazine, and then in recent years we were recently acquainted with, you know, Brother Polsky and Mighty Four. So many of us, you know, we learned about each other, but in the early days of hip hop by simply traveling and meeting people, and kind of like almost like that pilgrimage, and you know, you gotta keep on sending even letters, you know, like the hip hop pen pal thing and graffiti photos. You know, in today's technological era and instant access to everything, can you speak to how, you know, we were so effective in kind of everything that was going on, and just kind of like how that's evolved and these new platforms? I know you have kind of some opinions about kind of where we are.
Yeah, I think it's I mean, this where we're at right now is sort of like an amplified version of back in the day writing letters. There's access, but there's also the lack of personal contact, you know, which is kind of ironic because now we can't get together, you know. And so like for me, a lot of what has been happening with, you know, people reaching out and starting to speak to each other online, it reminds me of when we used to write letters and making connections with people across, you know, continents, you know. And you mentioned Polsky. Polsky was actually a pen pal I used to write to, and like now he's sort of like, when I moved to the Bay Area, he lived like a few minutes away from where my wife and kids moved to, you know. So it's almost like a reconnection to that original reaching out and wanting to find out more. And the irony about that is Polsky actually reminded me that I actually shared with him to do workshops. You know, I told him, go out and teach in your community, and he was telling me how much of a big impact that had in the Bay Area on the, you know, the American b-boy scene over here, because people weren't teaching, people weren't doing workshops before that. So, you know, it's an interesting like 360 of how hip hop came to South Africa, and then, or from Africa to the US via the slave trade, then back to Africa via hip hop, and then Africans sharing that knowledge with Polsky, and now the b-boy scene exploding in the Bay Area because of people teaching, you know. So yeah.
Right. True cultural exchange, right? Yeah. So and it's kind of funny. Abstract Rude. We were just talking about that the other day. He's one of the also artists featured on Pangea project, and he was talking about in his early, you know, career that like just he would have so many letters, you know, and that's really like how he like created those relationships, you know, the genuine relationships in like a hip hop family, and you know, it's not like you know, draw of luck or social media or things that just kind of conspired for him to be as successful as he is, but actually the effort and the time to correspond, you know, with the letters and stuff. I think it's really testament to kind of the longevity of those relationships and nurturing that family kinship. So I know you kind of been in isolation here in the U.S. currently in the Bay, and you haven't been able to, you know, return home in some time. Can you speak to your experiences of like what it's been like in lockdown, and you know, how's it been with your family back home, and kind of like the relationship with how it's been with you?
Yeah, I mean I was supposed to have left like just before the first cases in the US, you know, and my fear was that if I left, then my wife and kids, and you know, the impact that it would have on them if they were home and she is working, and you know, there couldn't be someone to assist her, you know, and I didn't know if I left that the borders would still be open to come back and help out, you know, because I live between Cape Town and San Francisco, and so that fear, I was like, yo, let me stay, and I'm glad I did, because you know, who knows what the actual flight I was supposed to take to go back, that was the first cases that were reported in South Africa. On that same day that I would have landed in South Africa, those flights were the first reported cases of COVID in South Africa and in Cape Town. And so, you know, a lot of my fear was that, like, you know, what am I taking something back to my family with me? Like, it's not a healthy thing to have done, you know. But I mean, staying here in the US sort of brought back a lot of memories of apartheid, you know, of the Black Lives Matter that was taking place, and the fight for, you know, social justice and for racial equality. I mean, I obviously participated in some of that marches, but I was like, damn, it's like deja vu. I'm going through the same thing again, you know. And I can imagine how African Americans feel having been confronted with that, you know. So simultaneously of this fear of this virus spreading was this other virus of racism that was spreading in the entire United States at the same time, you know. And the irony is that the president of this country and the one that I grew up with in South Africa had a similar mentality, you know. So it was like flashbacks of that history that I've been experiencing while I've been here, you know. And my view on it is also, it's completely different from obviously people that are here. Seeing the amount of agitation that's happening online, the usage of you know, data to, you know, capture data, algorithms, and those type of things to actually push disinformation, and a lot of like really like lessons that I learned while I'm here, you know. I mean, so to come back to this project, it's also the ability to reach out to family globally and being connected to all of the people around the world, when, you know, knowing that you're working on this idea, it gave a sense of belonging, you know, that there's this hip hop family around the world that has concern, that wants to bring about this change, and reminding me that that's actually always who we've been, you know, as a global hip hop family. And I think with access to the internet, sometimes we forgot that was actually the intention, to stay connected, you know. And so it's been a good reminder of the importance of this working collectively globally to bring forth something, you know, to create something.
Indeed. And I know you're talking about the evolution, you know. You had mentioned that there was a kind of a new strand that was really affecting you know, the community back home, and even, you know, had impacted people that, you know, and so my regrets, you know, and then kind of how you correlated that with you know, just the social injustice of apartheid, and kind of almost like we're kind of reverting back to that.
I mean, the South African strain that is now here in the US as well. It's when I heard about that, like a lot of my fears of the past, there's a history of chemical and biological warfare during apartheid on the masses of the people, so my fear was, how would that past impact the present, and when this materialized, I was also, obviously thinking about that history and, chemical and biological warfare by the apartheid regime on the people in South Africa. And so now they're having been recipients of one of these strains that mutated, and then also not having access to vaccines, so it's again the disparity of like the richest nations having the money to purchase the vaccines first, and so like seeing my one of my b-boy friends, his wife passing on like 2 weeks ago, and then just like completely unexpected, that the shock and the reality of it, and then people every day, you like go online and you see people just, people being lost, and families and elders, and like the richness of the knowledge that they hold. The question that I have for myself is like, how do we hold on to that? Even here in the US, like some of the elders of the hip hop community, like the importance of actually like getting people to speak and share and use these platforms to get that information shared with the masses of the people,
Dude. Well, brother, keep doing the great work. Heal the Hood is doing amazing work, with bringing up the next generation of young people, and big ups to X2C who produced the track that you're on, Only When We're One. I love that joint. That was like the chorus, man. It's very infectious, and I just like yeah, I always get that in my head, and it just lingers like a. Anyways, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna move on, and we'll be right back. Our next guest is Dumi Right. Dumi's a performing artist, MC, writer, and organizer who has been recognized as a standard bearer in global and progressive hip-hop circles for many years. His influence has been documented in domestic and international publications, as well as in academic works of hip-hop history, including Say It Loud, The Story of Rap Music by K. Maurice Jones, and The Hip-Hop Wars by Trisha Rose. In the recent years, he has remained immersed in the culture and business of hip-hop, releasing a number of albums and performing all across the country and world. Dumi lectures in academic institutions around the country, including George Washington University, University of North Carolina, Howard University, University of DC, and Virginia Tech University. A lot of universities. He's very scholarly. Up next, we're going to hear a snippet of the song These Days and Times from the Pangea album, which also features artists Outspoken and Psychotech. And we'll be right back with you.
Nowadays it seems like I barely get to breathe, weighing on my mind till my shoulders deep. It's hard to even dream when you hardly get to sleep. From the present manifested to the future of my seed.
Some people thought it only affected a small percentage, it wasn't authentic. Upside down and all around, we're tangled up in this pandemic. Need to harness energy and make a movement that's kinetic. If we fail to act like with the Spanish flu, we will regret it. Some say it's a reset, others think that it's a warning. Global warming, murder hornets, now there's locusts swarming. People in power, they ignored it. Information got distorted, now the stakes are so damn high that most of us cannot afford it. Healthcare, we could really use some help here, especially deadly for lower income. COVID-19 doesn't care. Time to make a shift. Gotta focus on the simple things. You and I don't know when we will die or what the future brings. Doesn't matter where you reside. It can be dangerous going outside. Social distance slow the tide. Wear a mask, so many have died. Cut through all of the debates. We cannot make the same mistakes. All the actions we can take determine the future we create.
Nowadays it seems like I barely get to breathe, weighing on my mind till my shoulders deep. It's hard to even dream when you hardly get to sleep. From the present manifested to the future of my seed. Feels like I'm chasing.
Do me right, brother. Man, I just that was actually one of the first songs that was completed, and I was just like, wow, the introduction, and because the idea was still kind of brand new, and you know, the just that using that as an introduction, I was like, wow, this song just really encapsulated. So your verse in particular covered a lot of things in just a short 16 bars. I mean, from I think the Killer Hornets and the mass and just the complexities of what was going on. It's super, super dope. Thank you for joining us. You know, I know a lot of performing artists such as yourself have difficulty adjusting to the pandemic when so much of your career is supported by touring, you know, selling merch and just being out there interfacing. You, on the other hand, you're very diverse and multifaceted. Can you talk a little bit about how you adjusted this time over the last year and what you've been up to?
Yeah, so it was interesting because I know pandemic hit maybe like a month or two into it. Like I think it might have been like a next level, like, hey, let's get together and check in and see how everybody's doing. And talking to people online, and some of my friends were like, yo, you know, I'm in the house, I'm writing a rhyme every day, I'm making 30 beats, and yo, I've got my light kit and I'm doing virtual. And I'm like, yo, I'm just trying to figure out how we go survive tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like the kids are out of school and asking us to fill out a survey. Do they want to go back to school? You know, they're like, when you get groceries from the store, you got to wipe it down with spray it with Lysol, or do you have to wipe it or leave it on your step? And, it was just like a whole lot. So I was like, creatively, I'm not even like there, right? Like thinking about no rap music right now, you know what I mean? Like, and as it turns out, coming out of 2019, I had like a whole bunch of shows lined up. I had a series that I did with the libraries out around the way where I brought basically like a show we do at a club or like the Kennedy Center. And they were like, well, could you bring that to the library? And we did, like, in 2019. And it was like, oh, this is wonderful. They're like, can we book you for like 6 more of these? Like, what kind of budget do you need? And it was like, yo, and then boom. You know what I mean? And not to say that was the biggest tragedy of 2020, right? But just as an artist, where you're looking at, these are plans I've put in place. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, we're talking to these people about maybe getting into some schools and doing workshops. And then it all just ceased, cease and settle right now. So then you're kind of like, whoa, you know what I mean? I felt like I was in the boxing ring and then gotten hit a couple times. And I was like, yo, standing 8 count. Like, I just kind of need to pace myself and figure out where things is at, what's going on, breathe a little, and de-stress, you know what I mean? I think that's important, the self-care and just confronting the fact that it is stressful, you know what I mean? And it isn't this utopia where we're in creative paradise and we got all this time to write. For some folks, that's how it is, but everybody kind of deals with it and, moves along differently. So I think coming to that realization then helped, right? Because it's kind of like, the steps, right? So you realize that there's an issue, that there's a problem, that you are stressed. And then like, okay, well, what are things that I can do to help cope? And, what are alternative paths that I can go down? And, how can I connect with folks? And it's funny because actually I might've been the first, second, or third next level call you were on, and you were talking about the Pangea project or whatever. And that might've been, some months down the line, but just through tapping into the network, right? So of things that I had been doing, people I had been building with, I was like, well, let me just kind of go back to the source of, kind of the hip hop community and, people, one, for information, 2, to make sure folks are doing okay. And then also reaching out, obviously I've got family back in Zimbabwe. So making sure that everybody's doing okay and what are things people need, what's the situation on the ground there. And I think initially a lot of folks there were like, oh yeah, that's over in the West. And we're like, it's coming, you know what I mean? It's like all over the place. So, just kind of staying interface and networking, I think helped me a lot, because then I could reach out to people and be like, okay, now I'm in a space where I do want to talk about what's going on and talk about this music. Who do I know that's working on some cool projects that we can get down with and continue to do stuff? I was working with the organization and still am, called the Hip Hop Loves Foundation. And they were connecting, with folks all across the globe. And that's kind of, what I like to do. So I was like, oh, this is a good match. I'd done their podcast and he was like, hey, I'm working on a compilation called Stop Shooting. And we're trying to get MCs from all over the world to talk about
violence, gun violence, and how, and especially, you know, with, you know, the predominance of police brutality in the US and the protests. And so it's like, oh, that's a good way to kind of speak truth to power, and work with people in different countries. And so I reached out to like my colleague Mode 9 in Nigeria. I hit up some other folks, you know, in different parts of the world. I'm like, hey, this is this thing I'm doing. And everybody was kind of like in that same space of, yeah, it's time to build. Like, let's do it. And was really excited about it. And so I started out doing a song for the Stop Shooting compilation. And then it was like, well, we need more artists. Can you help us find artists? So I started bringing artists to the table, and they were like, yo, well, we've got a bunch of beats. Which beats do you think we should use? And I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna go through the folder, because you know I like to pick out beats. So I'm like, yo, we need to do a joint with this. And oh, this joint is funky. And I know some producers that remix stuff or whatever. And they were like, yo, well, this joint has samples, so I don't know if we can clear it. And I was like, well, I got somebody on the case. So then I started seeing like, hey, I can use my Swiss Army knife skills and kind of like, you know, networking, reaching out, as well as doing creative stuff. So it's not just like rapping on a record. There's like more stuff, and for a purpose, you know what I mean? And it's funny, the last thing I'll say, and then I'll just jump back to what your next question might be, is the way this song, These Days and Times, came about. And even the title, it was kind of like, well, what do we call it? I didn't want to call it COVID-19. I didn't want to call it a pandemic, but it's kind of like, and I talked to Outspoken, who's an activist, MC, artist, and performer in Zimbabwe, who's done tons of like activism, and they do a big festival called the Shoko Festival, where they bring in youth in the community. And so he's somebody I love to build with, you know, like he inspires me as well. But I sent him the track, and I was like, hey, you know, this is a track about, you know, what's going on with the pandemic, what you're going through, you know, kind of what the country's going through, what it looks like from your perspective. And I sent it to him probably this time, like 9-10 o'clock East Coast time, and I went to sleep and woke up, and he had the verse in my inbox the next day. And he was like, yo, as soon as I heard that and what you were asking, he's like, it was a perfect outlet. He's like, because I had all these thoughts, you know, building up and all the stuff I wanted to say. So he was like, it took me, it just flowed. He's like, I hope it's cool. I'm like, oh, brother. Like, so I threw away everything I'd started to write. And off of what he said, I just sat there that morning, because I'm like, well, now I need to reply like quick. Like, I can't be taking 2-3 weeks. This brother got me his verse in 24 hours. So I just sat there and just wrote, and just, I probably had like 4 or 5 pages. Now, okay, I get 16. So let me cut it down and boil it down to the bare essence. So I think just kind of the theme has been just kind of going back to the essence, you know what I mean? Pulling from what I know and building with people. Like, that's really carried me through. I give thanks that, you know, as my family personally, we've been okay, and have managed to stay safe. You know, the kids are doing okay, and even the family back home is okay. And I know there's a lot of people that are not. And so recognizing that it's a blessing, you know what I mean, to be able to carry on every day and do rap stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it's a blessing to actually be able to do something creative and use that as an outlet.
Indeed. You touched on a wide range of topics, and you know, just the almost like a culture shock in the way that we're having to, you know, immerse ourselves in this new kind of way of life, and sterilizing groceries, and you know, refraining from touching your eyes, and you know, it's a lot that goes into it. And so I really appreciate that you touched on, you know, mental health, and it's something that's often, you know, it's kind of a hot phrase. People might talk about it, but really to dig deep and to like explore what it means to be, you know, have good mental health, and to what type of support systems and things that are in place that we have to be able to work things through, you know. And it's increasingly challenging, especially with being isolated and just not seeing people, you know. So, we're inherently, you know, social beings, and to be able to connect, you know, cipher. I mean, hip hop is all about the cipher and coming together, and even, you know, the puff puff pass, you know, for the people that do that, that's a cultural norm, you know. And so that's going to be changing, and there's a lot of different things that, you know, we're just going to have to evolve. We got one little thing I wanted to talk about, and then we're going to keep it pushing. So you live in the capital, Washington, D.C.,
Sure.
at the moment, between the Black Lives Matter movement that mobilized stronger than ever this year after George Floyd's murder last summer, as well as the political polarization between former President Trump's administration and domestic terrorist hate groups. Like, can you describe like the climate and like what's going on the ground level? There's just so much activity. I mean, even like nationally here in Seattle, there's been a lot of like uprisings and things, but I'm, on in DC, I know it's like a really heightened climate. Like, what's it like over there? What's going on?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, you know, obviously, like we say, the catchphrase is racism isn't on the uprise; it's just being recorded more now. And I think, with that incident of George Floyd being killed on camera, being executed, and people rising up. But the interesting thing was it was a pandemic. So I think on one hand, you had folks like, well, we want to be safe. We don't want to get sick and then have more complications and more issues. But at the same time, this can't go, unchecked, right? We need to do something or say something. And so, with a mighty voice, people rose up and in the nation's capital too and protested. And it was good, the fact that people could go right up to where the White House was and let their voices be heard. And after the first couple times, they built up like the high fencing, and then people took art and, posters and all that stuff and put it on the fence. And I think they came through one time and cleared it out, and people came back and said, we need to put more art up and, let those voices be heard and let the international media. And it kind of put US on the spotlight, because we like to talk a lot of trash, right, about how this country is brutalizing its citizens or, shutting down voices. And it was there plain for all to see, with the brutality of these protesters protesting peacefully and just, being tear gassed and beaten. I know my oldest daughter was like moved by it too. And she's like, Dad, we need to go down there. And I'm thinking like, COVID and the mask and being in crowds and people chanting. But I also knew, just by her actually vocalizing it, it was important. And so, you judge the risks. And so we did go down, and it was impactful just to see the people just coming together in a sea. And we went from the Lincoln statue all the way through DC. And you'd see the DEA was out there with armored cars and people with no insignia, all kinds of, and then you contrast that to like January 6th, where you had people saying, we are coming to invade the Capitol, we're going to be armed, and it was like nothing. And you say to yourself, like, okay, I rest my case. Like, y'all have just proven again and again and again how foul you are and what you're going to do, and just to perpetuate this injustice. It's kind of like people think, oh, back in Jim Crow, that wasn't that long ago when we had, that happening here. And it was sanctioned by state officials and sheriffs and police in the open. So now it's still there, but it's just pushed to the side. So I think this has brought it back to the forefront. So I think people are like kind of vexed by like, yo, like really, really America again? Like y'all gonna keep doing this again and again. And especially for somebody, last thing I'll say on this is having been in Zimbabwe and knowing what it looks like to be under authoritarian regimes, and then being in Africa in the 80s where you hear about the coup and you hear about military took over and this and that, and America was wagging the finger, right? Like, no, you guys, you don't follow democratic principles. And then it's like, well, look at y'all what are y'all doing right now? Like tonight, y'all was on TV talking all this crap about overturning an election and African-American votes and voices, especially, because they cherry picked, right? The places they have problems with are the places where the Black people voted in massive numbers. So anyway, I just feel there's that vexation. It's like, oh, here we go again. Like if the pandemic, if this one virus wasn't bad enough, this other virus that don't have a vaccination, like this racism virus, like what are we going to do about that? How are we going to make a change? But I think the good thing is that people stood up pandemic or no. And so, you know, the world is on notice. Like, we ain't having it.
Yeah, the world's on notice, and it seems like more and more awareness, especially with our young brothers and sisters who are becoming more politically engaged and you know, doing all different types of things, exercises of voice, and you know, in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, and everything in between. Brother Dumi, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. You killed that actually two songs, These Days and Times, and then also Next Level All Stars. That was
that was
quite the
fun.
joint. So thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna.
Oh, and can I just say in 20 seconds, I just really have to shout out Outspoken and my homie, the brother Psychotech, because again, these cats were going through what we're going through, but when it came to doing the music, they were like, "Yo, we gonna get it done. Like, let me know, what do you need?" And they were even the ones who were like, "Oh yeah, if you need video, you know, we'll figure out a way to make it happen, and we'll." You know, Psycho is actually in South Africa, and he's like in a tuck shop, like kicking his verse in the video. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But like, big up to them for like just stepping up and like being like, let's go, let's get it. Like, we ain't gonna stop. We ain't gonna be held back.
Yeah, I love it. And for those that are watching, you know, we just saw a little pre sneak preview of just some of the raw performance there, but there's some more video in the works, and yeah, it's I got a little sneak peek of some of the other stuff. It's looking really dope. Looking forward to seeing that video come to life. Thanks again for joining us. So up next, we have two guests who have contributed to the song Rap Vid from the Pangea project, both who I met initially through their Zulu Nation Costa Rica chapter, and have gotten to know them as incredible people over the years. Tati Chaves is a hip hop dancer, choreographer, and organizer, educator who founded Hip Hop Consciente, or HHC, that is doing incredible work with young people throughout San Jose and the surrounding areas of Costa Rica. Tati is joined by hip hop pioneer, DJ, and longtime filmmaker. I call him the Georgia Brown of Costa Rica. His name is DJ Gafeto, and we are going to watch a snippet of a video that he directed, shot, and edited of a song called Palos Compas, which features Nico, who is also featured on the Pangea compilation. We're going to share more with them right after this video.
Put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up. Hasta la muerte. Salvador de corazón pa' ti, Panamá de corazón pa' ti, Tiquisca de corazón pa' ti, palo compa, aquí palo compa, Miami de corazón pa' ti, Colombia de corazón pa' ti, NYC de corazón pa' ti, palo compa, aquí palo compa. Justo a la espalda, justo quemando mata, yo en la tarima con rima y los grafiteros con lata se pinta como bomba compatico, artista para la pista, los metodistas tranquilos, Kenny en camisetas y tenis, Kush con el bush, mucho bush con los frenes, panameños que partieron en el party, elenco de elementos DJ, graffiti papi, en Guate, aguacate, en El Salvador pupusa, pero con la mano el tenedor no se usa, al ver todo el pueblo y sus lecciones, raperos y productores sentados en comedores, echando chistes, sin importar cómo te viste, compartiendo con los compas que son más cuando te fuiste, y unido es más potente, esto es de nosotros, las vibras underground y fuerte como terremoto. Guatemala de corazón pa' ti, México de corazón pa' ti, todo el Caribe de corazón pa' ti, pa' los compas, aquí pa' los compas, inmigrante corazón pa' ti, hipopero corazón pa' ti, todos los panas corazón pa' ti, pa' los compas, aquí pa' los compas, Salvador de corazón pa' ti, Panamá de corazón pa' ti, Tiquisca de corazón pa' ti, pa' los compas, aquí pa' los compas, Miami de corazón pa' ti, Colombia de corazón pa' ti, NYC de corazón pa' ti, pa' los compas, aquí pa' los compas.
Federico, it's good to see you guys. it's actually kind of bittersweet. For the guests who don't know, I was actually scheduled to perform at a major festival and tour Costa Rica for a couple weeks last March, last year. Actually, just 2 days before my flight to Costa Rica, the country mandated that all festivals and events were to be canceled immediately. So I had to make the tough call to not get stuck, and we had to cancel the whole tour. But Tati, I know Costa Rica has been going through tough times, but also like different than even more severe countries like Panama and Nicaragua. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, how it's been over the last year and kind of what you noticed in terms of like how it's like been different. Pandemic has been different in different communities.
Hi, yes, of course. First of all, peace. Thank you so much for having us here. And I wanted to say, in behalf of all HHC, that we feel very, very grateful to be part of this project and to be here sharing with our voice with all the community and to be heard, right, from Central America in a different idiom. Well, yeah, during this pandemic, I was able to talk to some friends from different parts of Central America, and it's crazy how different it's handled compared to Costa Rica, for example. Even in Panama, that is right next to us, is very different. For example, the government help bonus or how severe was the lockdown during the time that we were all inside. For them, it was a complete lockdown. That means that they could just go out once a week or one day all men and the next day just women. And just by several hours, they could go to the groceries and to the pharmacy. And over here, we have like a vehicular restriction, but we can be walking or by bike or using public transportation here in Costa Rica, at least. So I think it affected very different to all of us in Central America and Latin America as well. I heard that in Colombia and Chile is pretty different as well, the reality.
Yeah, no, it's got to be really tough, and then it's not like an even playing field. Like even the rules are different, in country. I mean, here, even between counties and counties are kind of like bigger than cities, but they're just kind of areas within a state, and even just kind of the the mandates are different, and it can be very confusing. Yeah. So to be quite honest, I think the song that you curated, Rap Fit, is like one of my favorites. I love that song. I'm probably gonna say that about every song, but it's really dope. The song just really hits my soul. Like when the beat drops and the lyrics are dope too. I got the translation. I'm like, whoa, y'all are really killing it. So it features Nico from Colombia, who recently resides in the U.S., currently resides there, and Jose and Kid Sanchez from Panama, and Scratches, of course, from Gafeto. That's a lot of artist representation from different countries. Like, how did you all get to know each other?
Mhm. Well, yeah. Well, Kit Sanchez was a dancer before, so that's how we know each other since 2012. And back in 2014, I went to visit Panama to some friends, and he introduced me to FM Crew, which is their crew, and also was part of it. And he was my favorite MC when I met them. So they're like brothers for me. And Gafeto, he's like a big brother for me here in Costa Rica. We know each other since a long time ago, and he's a very good friend of mine. And because of him, I know a lot of people like Ethnico, which is an amazing MC, and they've been collaborating since a long time ago too. And all of them are collaborating also with Gafeto's documentary, Tlacuilos.
Mm. Yeah,
So
from the few
yeah.
times that the few times that I've visited Central America, it seems like even though the countries are very spread apart, the hip hop community is like very connected and strong. And Gafeto, as a pioneer in hip hop, who's done a lot, can you tell us a bit about the evolution, and especially between the elements of hip hop?
Hello, everybody. Greetings. Thank you for having us. We're very happy with the project to be part of this and for that connect with everybody who's. We always want to connect with the hip hop community, especially in times like this. But yes, definitely, uh, we're all connected in this area. The evolution of, but we always the hip hop movement is young in Central America, but it's been everybody been listening to rap music. It's been involved with hip hop for a long time, but like a movement like now, like since 2000s, it's like when the movement started unifying between all the countries, and that's where we start connecting and growing projects. Like because also we're small countries, so it makes sense to unite and make a big movement like that. So yes, we're happy to collaborate. And right now it's been tough, definitely. As you were saying, we was having this graffiti festival, like right when the pandemic started. A bunch of people, like you, like didn't come, but a bunch of people did come, and like they came before and got stuck here. For example, a friend of mine, Alberto from El Salvador, he got stuck. He had to stay months in my house because he couldn't go back to his house, to his country. And like different countries with different like measures, and like in Salvador was very strict and with the military and everything. At the end of the day, Costa Rica not having an army helped a little, but the way they didn't like, they couldn't like shut us down completely in that sense, verdad? Like in other countries of Central America, you cannot even like go out, or they would arrest you and put you in jail, or verdad, just because you would go to the park or whatever. And it was a little bit too much, verdad? Entonces, yeah, like we still connecting, everybody's still working, like, verdad, double as hard, and we like trying to use this tool as always to like keep keep moving forward, verdad?
Right. And you say it's young, but I mean, it's there's still a legacy and a rich history that's been there. And I mean, seeing like the graffiti movement, and then eventually the b-boy. I've always kind of known about like the b-boy and graffiti aspects, and then I guess more recently like more the music. But like you're a really key role in the sense that I mean you do a lot, but like the aspect of documentation has been really important, and especially as people like living the culture, for us to be able to tell our own stories is like immensely valuable, versus just somebody from the outside or maybe an academic perspective that's just kind of studies our culture and like tells their version of our history. And so, you've been doing that for quite a while, I think over a decade, and you finally got, I mean, it's been a long time, but you put together a documentary that kind of talks about the evolution. Can you tell us a little bit about that project and how it's just so many different stories. I can't imagine because I've done documentaries, but how did you bring that together and get it like as an actual piece? Can you talk a little bit about that project?
Yes, for sure. It's like I've been doing videos for like almost more than 25 years, and also been involved in street culture, skateboarding, played bands since young, punk rock, hip hop, everything. Come on. So in a country like Costa Rica, we was como a few people, and we was not being represented in society, especially in the 90s, with there was no internet and none of that. So I come early on, I understood the importance of documenting what we was doing, because I knew como we was a small country with a small movement, but we could see what was going on in other countries, and we knew it was gonna grow, and it was important to document because nobody was interested in what we was doing. So that evolved in a lot of things and became my profession. Come on, besides the DJ and the hip hop things that I do, but I work as a video producer for a long time. So I combine that besides the work that I do outside of that. I documented since the day one all the things that I seen. So I started making a documentation of graffiti since the beginning of like the movement, but in Costa Rica at the beginning. But like after that, we connected in Guatemala, and we discovered everybody was come at the same stage. Everybody started connecting Also with the internet, like at the 2000s, with the internet was being more normal. And I decided I should document not only Costa Rica, but at least the whole Central America region, because we're all small countries. Nobody know much about us, but like it's difficult in a small country. It's just a few people doing it. So it made sense to unite as a Central American movement, everybody with its own identity but be part of a bigger thing. Hip hop is already a world movement, so it made sense to be strong first, come in our area but like also have a build platform so our artists could like tour in our countries, go to competitions, all of that, but like create a bigger platform for our young people. Also in Central America, everybody knows we have so much problems, struggle, like gangs, every type of situation that hip hop is needed, but like young people need stuff to do basically, but and hip hop is the one of the best tools to like help the youth. So we're on that mission. Tlaquilos also like got affected with the pandemic because it's a documentary, like more than 20-year documentation, 6 countries of Central America. We went to all the countries, like found out who was the pioneers in graffiti. It's like basically the story of the graffiti movement in all Central America. Also like the hip hop movement, because graffiti and hip hop is always connected. And we basically we tell the story in each country, how it started, how the whole movement connected, and like it's like our story, and in a movie, so everybody know what happened like the last 20 years in Central America. And when we did like a Central American tour, and we get to show the movie in New York in January 5 and 6. Last year, right before the pandemic was starting, and like after that, like the whole promotion of the movie got like, of course, it stopped because of the whole situation. But now we're starting again to find like new ways to promote the film, ¿verdad? Like, and keep going, tell our story basically.
Congratulations on that. Really, it's a masterpiece. It's very, very beautiful. I had to like watch it a few times just because like it's so stimulating. I mean, first of all the visuals and the graffiti and then I had to watch it again just to like absorb this each person's story. There's so many, individuals in the community and a lot of different communities. It was it's really a lot to take in, and it's really well put together. We'll put a link because it's available for pay-per-view, right? So we'll put a link available so that people can check it out. It's really an amazing documentary, and learning about the rich history and culture is just outstanding. Real quick, Tati, we're gonna I wanted to ask you about HHC. I've seen this kind of evolution, this organization that's just grown a lot in the last few years, and working with especially children and young people. It's been really inspiring, to see you guys, bringing up newer generations and, teaching the elements. Can you talk a little bit about those programs and like also like how you've like evolved? Because you guys are still have been doing things after the pandemic, and it's kind of like evolved. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. Well, HHC, as you said, started a while ago, and you have seen us like grow up since we were a little bean, and it started to grow, and everybody is collaborating with the project now. Gafeto, a lot of people from the old school, right, from Costa Rica as well, is um, has known the project, has been supporting us, and also the new generations have seen a different type of hip hop, let's say, right? Um, as we try to communicate also the other elements that is not just music, but it's also different types of elements that could help also our community, right? And the way we think regarding each other. Before COVID, we used to teach after school programs in schools. As everything closed, we try to change to virtual platforms through Zoom. and started to apply for cultural funds and started teaching beatboxing, not just like breaking, but also beatboxing, rap, recycle arts, graffiti. Also, after that, that fund for beatboxing that we got for kids, we also started working with a project with cultural ministry and UNICEF and other government institutions back in November and December. And we started a project where we taught 20 young men and women because they were like 20, 22. Um, they received virtual MC lessons with the legendary MC from here, Hugo Watson. Also, the production was with Kid Hendrix. Kid Sanchez made the beat for them all. Also, Poeta, another legendary MC from here, he did the recording and also did the mix and master for the whole project. And we had a live streaming presentation on one of our national theaters in Melico Salazar. So first, I want to give a huge shout out to all the people that was in that project, and we were able to do that as Gafeto. He was the DJ for that for for the young kids. Um, and so we're very excited right now to help uplift the new communities, the new generations for hip hop, and teaching them on what are the values of hip hop, and also teaching them how you uplift themselves and their communities around them through this, right? And so we're very excited for that, and we will release that album really soon as well. So be aware to check them out.
Yeah, super excited about that. I've been telling me about that, and it's really cool to see. And you know, much respects for, you know, being able to continue that. You know, even during the pandemic and shifting a lot of that to online. You know, I know it's probably more needed than ever for young people to have like these outlets and things like that. So much respects. Thank you guys so much for you know, for all the work that you do. Thank you for the amazing track, Rap Vid on Pangea Project. We're gonna play a video from my brother Maze 22, and we'll be right back to talk more with him.
उठी आवाज जमीर मेहनत बदले लकीर साथ में मेरे है मानस हबीब और गिनेगा कितनों को फ्रेम से बड़ी तस्वीर बीच की उंगली हवा में उठा के कहते हम फक नेपोटिज्म फक फेक हिप हॉप जीज अब मुंबई ओजीज बजेंगे कला से अब घर भी चलेंगे रियल्स को मिलता नहीं स्टेज कोई बात नहीं बना के हम खुद ही चढ़ेंगे नाम मेरा मेज ये फैमिली है मेरी शहर ये गौर से देख ले सारे के सारे इतिहास से रचेंगे अब सीन मेरा टीम मेरा ड्रीम नेवर लूज होप cause you gonna win बिना असल किए मुझे आता ना नींद उड बॉयज हम वी बिलोंग फ्रॉम द स्ट्रीट बंदे सारे यहाँ पे कलाकार हम रियल जी से नहीं मानते हार लड़के दो पर सब बेमिसाल तुम लगा लो बैटरी हम ऑलरेडी चार्ज स्ट्रेट अप जीते हम स्ट्रेट अप सीखे हम स्ट्रेट अप पकते हम स्ट्रेट अप सीधा मुंह पे
Where there you have it. Maze 22, brother. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from India. I met you initially through a mutual friend of ours. You know, shout out to Rajesh, as one of the top MCs of India. And actually, I've heard you from a few different cats from different countries. Interestingly enough, and they all like, "Yo, you need to holler at Maze, And I was like, "Ooh, who's Maze?" Like, and you know, I just checked you out, man, and probably like early in the Pangea project, you were one of the persons that stood out. And the first thing that really grabbed my attention was like all these super fire videos. You have a really unique sound and like a perfect blend of hip hop with like, you know, a lot of traditional aspects and like contemporary aspects. Can you tell me a little bit about like your history as a evolution as an MC and how you started building a name in the hip hop scene?
Hi everyone, big love and respect from India. Big love to my brother Khazm. Thank you for inviting me. It's pleasure to be here, and I'll tell you brief things about me. So it's been like more than a decade I'm into rap now, and the hip hop thing, it's quite new in India. So I come under like one of the first generation of Indian hip hop, right? So when we started, there was like countable MCs in whole country. So it's been easier for us to, you know, to come on the scene and spread the scene, right? So I'm doing this from like more than a decade now, and recently I started up with this crew called Stayed Up, which is like a whole culture collective community. It's not like a crew, but it's a whole community thing where we have like more than a 50 or 60 different street artists, like tattoo artists, like skateboarders, BMXers, just not the hip hop thing, like every elements of street which we featured in it, right? So this was the moment, and it was quite difficult in the initial stage to start a rap in India because it's a very Western culture. So here people look in a very different way, like especially the families and the society. They didn't accept us in the beginning on the initial stage, but now the things are changing. You know, the hip hop is going on mainstream in India, so everyone is accepting right now. So yeah, this was it, and now it's going great.
That's really dope, and I love the idea of collective building. We've been building with Zulu, and also this new straight up movement. Like, what are like some of the ideas? Like, is I know it's very kind of like organic and loose, and it's about bringing people together, and unifying like street culture and all these different BMX and skating and all these different elements. I think is really dope because traditionally we think of hip hop and we think of like the 4 or 5 elements, and just to be encompassing of all these outlets is really powerful. Like, what are some of have you guys talked about like goals or like what as a collective, like what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah. So basically, the idea of this crew was like for me, like there is a 3 founders of it. One is me, and then there is a Manas, and then there is Praveen. So 3 of us was like a friends, and then we started things, and we thought of like what is hip hop. Like for me, the hip hop is anything you proud on, anything you work and you think you like, right? So that's why like when we was making the crew, we didn't want it to be a specific about the elements. So that's why we try to get everything. Like even if you're like a sketch artist, and if you like what you're doing, you are a hip hop. Even like you are a chef, and if you like cooking, you are a hip hop. That's how I like think of hip hop, right? So that's why we featured like every elements, like as many we can, and the family is still growing. We have like a 50 to 60 people now, like a core members, and now it's still growing in India. So our idea to like our motive to start this was like now hip hop is growing in India and it's getting commercialized. So now it's in our hand to keep the things real as the purest. Otherwise, the people gonna get a wrong influence about the hip hop. Like, okay, this is hip hop, but the actual thing will be on behind. So this was our idea to keep the things real.
And I love that because it's like really owning the culture and just being vanguards of it. A lot of times, I mean, if you look at kind of here in the States, it's a beautiful evolution in history, but at some point it's kind of like it shifts, in terms of kind of the ownership and how the power dynamic with, these corporations that almost dictate the trends, and what's marketable and what's not marketable. And it becomes more about the commodification of a culture than like young people just expressing themselves and doing what they do because that's how they feel, or this manifestation of what they're going through. And I think it's a beautiful thing what you guys are doing to be able to try to, especially as newer generations come on to instill that empowerment and be able to take creative control and be like, this is our culture, and these are our terms. You know, we want to build alliances with different companies and corporations. Great, but you know, we have principles, and we have, you know, a rawness about this culture that we represent for you know, outside, you know, agencies to come in and kind of taint it. We're not going to allow that, and I think that's such an amazing thing. Before we close out, you know, I know that you've been doing like quality recordings, which is, you know, not always accessible, but like the recording has been really amazing, and especially the production value of like the videos. Like, seems like you have a really solid team, and I saw that you kind of recently like been building a studio. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Is it a public studio? Is it a private studio? And like just the team, like you guys have like video folks that you're working with. Like, what's going on behind the scenes, because it's looking fresh.
Thank you. So yeah, just a minute. Let me just check this chat because I'm seeing this. Nice. I was in Dharavi, b-boying with Hira and of some gods of who was nice. Yes. So I would like to say this. Even I was a part of Slum Gods. I was a part of Slum Gods back then, and I stay in Dharavi. And like pretty close to B-Boy Zakku's house. We are still friends. Like, I'm no more in the crew now because I got separated back in 2013, I think. And then I started my own thing. But the Slum Gods is still doing things. They're still doing. And Slum Gods was actually India's first hip hop collective crew. So I would like to give them a big ups, because if they would be not there, so the hip hop wouldn't be this big in India, right? So yeah, coming to the point, Brother Khazm. So the recording is done in my own studio. So I have a home, like a small home setup where we do all the recordings, right? So all these songs which you hear, they are like a home studio recording. And for the video, yes, we do have two guys who basically shoot and edit the video. And I and Manas take care of the whole direction and the location finalizing thing. So it was like the creative team, like behind the 60 people, there is like a 4 people, like a 4 creative team, like a 4 people, which like one's take care of the music, one's take care of the shooting, one's take care of the editing, and one's take care of the overall project, like how it's looking, like is it on the, like on a benchmark or not. So yeah, that's it. Just a four people working behind this 60 people. But we want to increase the team because it's really pressure. Like when you have to handle like 50, 60 people and maintain the quality. So we are looking forward to increase the creative team. But not a lot of people want to come behind the camera. Always people want to come front. So that's the time when it becomes difficult to deal with things.
I'm gonna have to connect you with our brother and elder Giorgio Brown, because and Gafeto too, because you know, just the power of media. Like it's so much that you can do, and like telling stories, you know, and being able to like be behind the camera is just so empowering, and being able to like share things with your eye. You know, it's I mean, it's definitely, you know, a lot of pressure when you're dealing with that many people, but it's also really rewarding and valuable and empowering for young people to be able to create their own content and media. Like it's we're building a Cool Out Academy program here and mentoring young people through, you know, developing their own media and stuff like that. And it's really empowering. I mean, that's something that's kind of like on a foundational level, like encouraging artists to learn the language of engineering and being able to learn how to use DAWs and recording devices, and you know, like having a comprehensive understanding of all the elements are really valuable. Even if you are able to build a team and you have other people that are able to, you know, devote to certain aspects, like having that knowledge base is really valuable. So hats off to all the amazing work. I look forward to seeing a lot more. And yeah, shout outs to Andy Music and Venki and everybody who contributed to your track. 2020. It's a really dope track as well.
Yes.
Thank you for contributing.
Yeah. Big ups to Andy, Venki, and the Sid, actually, who worked on this track with me. The track called 2020. So it's a very different story. Like I'll take like 10 seconds to explain, right? So when Khazm told me about this project that we are working on, I was so excited, right? But then he told me about to work on like a pandemic topic, the kind of things which we are going, right? But I was like, when I was making this track, I felt like the whole 2020, just not the this coronavirus, the whole 2020 was the worst year we ever had, because there was like fires, there was like a water floods, there was like viruses and everything. So that's why I tried to feature every problems of 2020 in a one track. So that's why I named that track 2020, which featured ND Music, which is my homeboy, and then there is a producer called Venki Music, which is another like part of my team. So big ups to these guys, and big ups to Khazm for inviting me for this and giving me opportunity to speak about what we been through in this 2020 thing.
Indeed. I know you've been talked a little bit, and it's you know, it's just like everywhere, man. It's a lot of struggles, but it's a struggle worth fighting. You know, so keep your head up, brother, and man, best of you know, thoughts and prayers to you and your peoples, man. All right, so we're gonna keep it pushing. Our last guest is not just one of the most celebrated MCs from Uruguay, but all throughout South America and Latin America. Her music and her partner DJ RC made serious buzz with their debut EP entitled Vez in 2013. And since then, she's toured extensively as a duo with RC, but also alongside with her 8-person band, Super Hard, and you know, all around from Uruguay to Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, and US. And so, as a fierce MC and singer, her music is not just catchy and riddled with unique cadences and just ill cadences, but is really introspective and speaks upon many aspects, including consumerism, sexism, violence, and social issues of today. A lot of accolades from earning the awards such as MC of the Year, Album of the Year in 2016 and 2018, and so much more. She's just truly amazing. She's currently releasing videos and promoting her most recent album called Dias Asi, which released last November. I'm incredibly honored to welcome Eli Almic here tonight. We're going to play a snippet of her latest video entitled No Era Ura Pavara, and then we're going to be right back to talk more with her.
Escribir para salvarme, no descontrolarme, desinflarme, más bien comprenderme, amarme. Solidarizarme, aunque esta vez con causa propia, desapuntalarme, desacorralarme. Más bien liberarme, descifrarme, acompañarme, mi punto de encuentro afloje, desarticularme. Perdonarme para no desratarme y no al castigo que disfruta cuando dice que estoy tarde. Una silla en una mesa, en un hogar prestado en Barcelona. No hay escapatoria si el escape mismo también es encierro y se me desmorona. La ilusión de que termine este flagelo, esperanzas que podía transformar este veneno. No sé cómo parar de pegarme y compararme. Entendí que el lugar es lo de menos. Los fantasmas te persiguen donde vayas si no les pones el freno. Pero cómo frenar esa voz que dice: no servís, no llegás. Qué ilusión. Al final la ruta no estaba mojada. Al final la depresión no era una pavada. No. Si existiera solución la tomaría entera, la abrazaría y pediría me acompañe un rato al parque. Venga conmigo a tomar aire y sea consuelo o al menos en parte. ¿Quién diría que hasta acá yo llegaría?
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So good to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's good to see you too. I'm really happy for being here and for knowing you all. I met Khazm traveling through the US. I was like, I had no money. Wake Self gave me your contact. Rest in peace. I think it was Wake Self. My memory is not really good, but
No,
I went to your house.
Yeah. Rest in power, Wake Self. It was Cypher One. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Cypher One from Costa Rica, Washington D.C., but he lives in Costa Rica. So yeah, I went to your house. We did a song that then I put in an EP I released in 2018. So it's like I'm really happy about that connections. Like music let us connect in a way that it's like I don't know who you are, I don't know, but in a way I know who you are. So thank you for that. And yeah, I'm from Uruguay, a very small country in South America. Maybe it's kind of similar with Costa Rica because we are small countries and we speak Spanish, but we are far. And I have been in Costa Rica too, so it's like you have a beautiful country. And yeah, I don't know if I introduce myself or you want me to
you're
ask
fine.
something.
I'm just glad you're here.
And my English is not perfect. I'll do what I can. But
no, it's great. It's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I think talking about kind of like the and we talked with Emile earlier about kind of the organic kind of building of hip hop. It's very instinctual. It's very family oriented and grassroots. At its core and its essence. And I didn't know really anything about you. And Brother Cypher was like, "Yo, my sister's gonna be coming through. Like, you need to check in with her." And just off of his word, I was like, "Yo, like, definitely, like, I'll look out." And it was just the vibe was just really ill. And of course, we got the skills and stuff, and it was a really beautiful thing. And just to kind of see you continue your journey, and being able to travel and do your things and just see all the amazing projects, it's been really, really cool. So like, how has the pandemic affected Uruguay? Has it been substantial, or has it been a little bit more like reserved? Like, how's it been going? I know you haven't been able to like perform really as like in the way that you have been. You toured a lot, but has things kind of slowed down in that regard? But how have you been managing over the last year?
In a way, it affected a lot, and in a way, it didn't. Similar than Costa Rica, COVID didn't. I don't know how to say it, but we are not that complicated as other countries. We don't have a lot of deaths, and we closed the frontiers, kind of close, so we can walk in the streets and blah. But at the same time, we have no money. Now we can do concerts, but the protocols, they're legal concerts, and we are a really small country. We are 3.5 million. So if you don't go to a big country, Argentina, Brazil, and try to connect, it's really hard to survive doing art here inside and being independent. So I think that obviously it affected all the world, but as we are so little and most of the artists are independent here because we don't have a music industry, we don't have hip hop mainstream, we don't have, we are 3 million. So everything is happening. Hip hop is kind of big now compared with the 19s. It's obvious, but it's really something new in Uruguay. Like we have a hip hop stage in a festival. That's new. 3 years back, it didn't exist. So the movement, some bands, of course, but the movement is now on the radio and some stuff that in most of the countries or United States, it happened in the 80s. So it's kind of different, and we can perform now, but it's, there's no money, and it's not, it's not that all the people in Latin America is poor and all the people in the US is rich, but there's, it's not easy to get money, to have a job, to do what you like. So this is in general, so it's really hard, but in a way, at least we can perform, and you can do what you like, and you can, I don't know, it's kind of contradicted. It's kind of a contradiction, and compared with for example, 2019, I was performing a lot. I was going to Argentina, Brazil, Chile, not like mainstream stuff, but I was like starting to travel with DJRC, and things were doing good. Like, and then it was like, okay, everything stopped. But I understand that this is not personal. It didn't happen to me. It like happened to all of us. Right. So it's like, I mean, what can I do? So, and I understand the privileges I have. Like, I have a place to sleep and I have food in my mouth. So it's like, I don't have kids. So it was, maybe it's easier for me than a person in other situation. So when the pandemic came, sorry about my English, I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish my album. That's what I can do. I want to do it. So that kept me focused and happy, happy in a way of like, doing music. It's like you feel alive. So like doing what you love to do. So in a way, it wasn't that bad because, yeah, in a way it wasn't that bad because I was working on the album, and the video that you saw is from that album. And when Khazm invited me to be in this album that I'm really happy to be in, I was like finishing my album and I was like, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I don't feel inspired, but then I did it. So thanks for the patience. And yeah, it's hard when you're, but it's hard for everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's hard to, be kind of like what Brother Dumi Right was talking, be inspired, when it's just like you're just mentally just checked out. It's just a matter of like kind of balancing like stability and trying to search for that creative drive. But despite that, you've been very productive, and you've this new album is like really amazing, and you've continued to drop new videos. There was one in particular I was really touched by. It's called, I believe, Ayuda, and it's essentially like a continuous shot of you walking, all throughout the night in the streets throughout the entire song, and then at the very end of the song, at the end of the video, it's starts to become daylight, and you kind of start to panic, and then a car pulls up, and suddenly two men come out and attack, and then abduct you. Like, it was just such a powerful song, and like the visuals, like it struck an emotional chord. Like what, and like a lot of your music kind of touches upon these really kind of thought-provoking and deep issues. Like, what was your motivation behind that song? What that prompted you to like create that?
The motivation is like, it's really hard to be a woman in a lot of ways. We can't walk in the street safe. So it's something super simple and basic in human life, and we all the time gotta be like watching our back, and yeah. So I wanted to talk about that, and that's why, and I did it, and in.
Yeah,
Sorry, I need to think because it's not my first language. But what I wanted to say is that in my music, from 2018 till here, feminism like changed me in a way. I was like, okay, I didn't realize about a lot of things. Maybe when I started rapping, I was involved in social stuff, injustice, and then it's like there's another super big kind of injustice that I'm involved, and it's like, maybe, yeah, I wanna talk about it a little bit. And as all of you told me about the organizations or hip hop groups you're involved in. I wanted to tell you that last year, me and a lot of female rappers, and not just female, non-binary people, created a group, a collective. I don't know how to say it, because we don't feel represented by the masculine scene, and I say masculine on purpose. That thing about when I started rapping, I felt like I was like, I love rap, but in a way, I don't feel comfortable with that thing about, I'm the man and I'm the best and all that kind of things about masculine culture. I don't know how to say it. So I'm very happy with that collective, that it's kind of new, but we do shows for girls or non-binary people that are just starting and maybe they don't have that confidence in themselves. So, and rap is like, I like the competition. I don't have a problem with that, but sometimes it can be hard. And it's like, it's not a coincidence that usually you don't see on a freestyle group gay people or lesbian. And it's like, it's not that they don't like it. It's like, there's a masculine kind of rule. I don't know how to say that. It's super strong, and maybe you don't know how to start. So in that group, we have we support each other. We do shows together. We are working on the first album of the group, and it's super important because it's the first time in Uruguay that women in rap, and not just women, got together. There's a friend from Colombia. There's Black friends that talk about racism. I mean, we are a politic group, not just I like to rap. We want to tell something to the world, or at least try. So that's what I'm in, and it's very, very important to have that collective. Is that it's not okay. Collective in Uruguay, and it's called Sona.
Sona. That's really
Soona.
Okay.
Suna. Yeah, it'd be in English. Suna.
Sona. That's really powerful, and I really appreciate that. You've always, aside from the raw skill and being just so dope, you've always used your voice as a platform to talk about a lot of things that are maybe uncomfortable to kind of mainstream society, or things that are just taboo. And so that's really amazing. That you're kind of helping to kind of create platforms for people to express themselves and kind of to push the boundaries of what hip hop. It's a universal culture, and so being able to have those type of opportunities for their voices to be heard is really amazing. I'm gonna have to put you in contact with there's a brand new Zulu Union chapter that's just starting to form in Uruguay, and there's some B girls involved with that as well. So I know they would love to connect with you and maybe see what kind of partnership and building opportunities there are.
From which country? I'm sorry, Uruguay or Paraguay?
Yeah, from Uruguay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
B girls, I know them for sure.
I'm sure you do. I'll put you. I'll connect the dots. But yeah, I think it's really great because that movement is powerful, and it's worldwide, and to be able to help build each other up, I think is really a powerful thing. Eli, can you tell us before we close out a little bit about you talked a little about your album, and videos. What else? Do you have anything else planned, and projects you're working on, or are you just mostly focusing on promoting that right now? What are you currently working on?
I'm working on the promotion. I want to do some more videos, and at the same time, I'm writing for recording new stuff. The videos I've done, and I know that I'm lucky for that. It was in collaboration with artists that shoot or do videos, friends, but not just friends. Sometimes it's people I don't know, and so I feel really grateful about that possibility of that collaboration, because if that wouldn't exist, probably I couldn't afford, like kind of video we saw right now. So yeah, I wanna wish I can do more videos of the album that I've been working this album like for the last 2 years. And as I as I can travel now, and I gotta be in home, as I think you too, I think I have to connect with why I like hip hop, why I started rapping, why I feel free when I do it. So it's okay, I'll try to do more songs. I don't know what I'll do with them later. Maybe hope I can have the money to do a lot of records. I don't know. But it's like step by step. I don't know how it's for you, but inside the house here with the pandemic, the head don't stop, because it's like, okay, I can sleep all day, but no, I have to produce. There's a lot of free courses online. I don't know if I had to be productive or not. And it's not easy to like breathe, and it's like be with yourself. And I'm in that moment that I want to work a lot because I don't want to stop. This makes me happy, and wish I can live doing this that I love, and eat with this that I love too, because we gotta eat. And at the same time, be honest with the writing. I think we can't lie with that. Yeah. I don't know.
No, amazing. I just love the production value of the videos that you have, and especially you really taken a role in acting and gotten really into kind of the creative direction of it. It's really amazing. Once I'm able to get out there and travel, I'm definitely gonna hit you up, and we're gonna work on a music video when I visit you. So and I have some new beats, by the way. When on the winter vacation, I never have time to make beats, but I have some little surplus if any of y'all are in need of some King Khazm beats. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure and honor. Everybody here is just doing some really amazing work. We have just a few more minutes. I'm not sure if anybody has any particular beats. That's what's up. Yep. Any questions, or if there's any people in the audience that also have contributed to the Pangea project. I know that there was a couple earlier. I can't really see who's all in the house right now. I think shout outs to Abrud and some other folks. I don't know who's all in the house, but yeah, feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions. I see a lot of people in the house, actually. Third Eye Blink, shout outs to him. He produced a joint called The Tool, which is another one of my favorite tracks. We have actually a whole entire project that we're working on that will be released here very shortly. Ms. Music Girl, shout outs. Clark the Spark. Before we close out, is any of the panelists we just so short on time, and there's just so much to talk about. Is there any last thoughts that you I wanted to mention that but forgot to or didn't have time?
Yeah, this has been inspirational to see so many people. It's been a while. I was feeling a bit alone, being far away from South Africa, but seeing people do similar work is always very helpful. And the brother from that mentioned Darvi, it's been a while since I've traveled, so it's good to have that memory, of b-boying at my age in an old fort on top of the hill. That was priceless, And so I want to thank you guys. I have two kids who are 4 and 5, and it's been a year. I can't wait to get out and do something because I've been stuck in the house with a 4 and a 5-year-old. And but I want to say that I've actually been able to write lullabies for my kids, instead of the colonial songs. And so I don't sing very well, but they don't care. So just so that you know, there's another possibility that if you as you get older, to help with education. And I brought that up because I feel like we are on the verge of being faced with restrictions that are connected to this virus, and when it comes to travel, because already I'm unable, there's no flights going back to South Africa at the moment. And so I think that hip hop has a role to play in us insisting that we don't give away all our freedoms, because this usually happens, they scare us with something. And I mean, this is something to be afraid of, but at the same time that our liberties and our freedoms are not taken away. And this is a powerful reminder of like the humanity all over the world and our potential collectively to take back our humanity from like capitalist greed, you know, which is what is causing a lot of the global problems we face with. So I'm inspired by this moment, and I jumped in to speak first because I have to take care of supper. So I have to bounce, I have to leave right now. So thank you everybody for the inspiration, and I will definitely be in touch. Bye-bye.
All love, brother. Thank you for joining
Thanks,
us.
Khazm.
Yeah, you know, hip hop heals. You know, and it's easy to feel, I guess, lonely. You know, especially, I mean, you know, your peeps are there, but like you're not physically able to be there, so it's kind of easy to just kind of get caught up in your mind and just, you know, you can just start going down this rabbit hole. And so it's really refreshing, and to know that, you know, we're all going through similar struggles, different struggles, but similar. And so, you know, that's really the testament of this project. You know, hip hop is healing, it's therapeutic, and it's been like that since the beginning. You know, the essence of hip hop is about turning a negative to a positive, and you know, self-empowerment. And so, you know, through just something as simple as having your voice heard, you know, can be very empowering and healing and therapeutic. So yeah, thank you everybody for contributing your time, your energy, your voice. There was a lot of different perspectives, even perspectives that I didn't necessarily agreed with. And I was like, I was really, I was like, because, you know, a lot of peeps that in the circle, like we kind of have similar ideologies, but then some ideas were just like different. I was like, you know, I really respect that, and to be able to value, you know, brothers and sisters where they're at, and like their, you know, journey and their perspectives, and you know, to be able to share their honest feelings, and that's really a beautiful thing about hip hop. And so yeah, does anybody have any closing thoughts before we adjourn?
Yes. I have some. Yeah. So thanks to everyone. Big love and respect from India, and I hope we gonna be stay connected. Like as we got featured in this one album, there will be so many things coming up. Big ups to Khazm, and big ups to each and everyone who joined and contributed. So love and respect.
Thank you, brother. As we close, you know, I'd like to give gratitude to all our panelists, all of our artists, and most importantly, you, the attendees, for joining us tonight, supporting Pangea. Once again, a special thanks to all of our community partners who helped make this happen. Thanks to 206 Zulu, Fresh Shop Beats, MADK Productions, Heal the Hood, HHC, Mighty 4, Next Level USA, and Zulu Union. I want to thank the U.S. Department of State and the partners of the Americas for sponsoring this project and helping make this happen. Make sure to listen to the Pangea project, Pangea Hip Hop Heals. Yeah. It's available right now on most streaming platforms. Also, make sure to check out the Pangea pages on 206zulu.com, where you can find all the social media links to all the artists involved. Lots of artists. This is just a small sample. This project is about building global awareness and hip hop unity. So I encourage you all to follow the artists on their social media, which is also on 206zulu.com on the artist page, and stay afloat to all the incredible music and videos out there. There's just so much really cool stuff. Also, please note this Pangea release party is the official kickoff for the 206 Zulu 17th anniversary weekend. Join us tomorrow, Saturday, February 13th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on 206 Zulu's YouTube and Facebook channels as we broadcast another dosage of hip-hop cultural programming. All right. Thank you again for making this a truly remarkable event. I know these can be difficult times, but please stay vigilant in your safety, and together we will get through this. All right. My name is Brother King Khazm, signing off. Many blessings to you and yours. Peace and love, y'all.
Young blood, young cuz, the next generation.
Everybody needs a helping hand, from a brother to a sister, from a sister to a brother, man. Let's take the stand, no time to push and shove. Let's just make it us, take it to the top. We can reach the stars, let's see how far we can make it, my bro. No matter where you are, no matter where you go, we can make it for sure. We got love for the community, but somehow it's confusing me about who wants what and who knows who. This is troublesome. We gotta do more better, gotta get on together to get this cheddar. If you're down for me, then I'll be down for you. That's business for all, so let's keep it real, so let's keep it true.